in chapter 3, you're going to be working on parallel and perpendicular lines and a lot of stuff that goes with them. So here's the order of the skills we're going to cover. It goes very much algebraic at the end here. At the beginning today, lots of vocabulary. Then it goes to some algebraic properties. And then it just moves on from there, so you can read that if you want to. But today's objective is to have lines cut by transversals. And a transversal is just like a slicer, like this purple line right here. And it creates two sets of 4 angles. And they have special names, and that's it for today. Basically, it's just the special names. And then we're also going to talk about some special kinds of lines, parallel, perpendicular, and skew lines. So when you're up here, parallel lines, I think we all know that they never intersect. But you have to be careful with that because skew lines don't intersect either. So they never intersect, but skew lines also never intersect. So you need to know the difference between the two. And there's actually 2 differences. Parallel lines are on the same plane and they don't intersect. Skew lines are on different planes. And once we start talking about slopes, parallel lines have the same slope and skew lines have different slopes. So I'm just going to work with those 2 first here and talk about the symbols for it. So if I were going over here and talking about parallel lines, they're never intersecting and they have the exact same steepness or the same slope. So I would say line AE, and remember we put that line symbol over it, and then these double bars are the symbol for parallel. So AE actually runs parallel to BF. It actually runs also parallel to DH in the back there, and also parallel to CG in the back. So those are considered parallel lines. And obviously there's other ones. I just don't want to write them all down. But EH down here will never intersect FG, so they're parallel. They also have the exact same steepness, which we're eventually going to call its slope. With the skew lines, they don't intersect either, but they have different slopes and they're on different planes. So I'm going to go back to that AE guy right here. And a skew one would be up on the top or up on the ceiling here. Those are never going to cross. Same with this one behind it back here, GH. It's running behind AE. So they never intersect, but they're not parallel because their steepnesses are different. So again, the difference between the 2, never intersect, but this one has the same steepness or slope, which we're going to talk about in another section. So the slopes are the same. These guys never intersect, but the slopes are not the same. They're different. I'm just going to write diff right here. So there's no symbol really for skew lines. You just use the word. So I would say line AH is skew to line. And again, there's lots of examples. I'm just putting one example up here. GH. All right, so perpendicular lines intersect. I think we know this already. This guy. Intersect at 90-degree angles or at right angles. I'm just going to use the symbol there. So they intersect at right angles. So if you're looking for a pair of perpendicular lines, you would get some right up here in the corner. Like I'd have this line AB perpendicular to AB. They're meeting at or intersecting at a right angle or 90 degrees. And then the symbol we usually see for that is that little box in the corner. All right? So I would say AE, and then again the line symbol goes over it. And our symbol for perpendicular is like an upside down T. It runs perpendicular to AB. And again, there's other examples of that, but I'm only putting one. And next up for parallel planes, remember we talked about planes in chapter 1. You name them with 3 letters and no symbol, no commas or anything. Parallel planes also don't intersect. So it'd be kind of like the ceiling and the floor if you extended them forever and ever. And if I were to say 2 planes are parallel, or have to list a pair of parallel planes, Remember, I grab any three letters in any order to lock you into the correct surface. So with those three letters that I just listed, I'm locking you into this yellow plane or onto the floor. So I only need the three letters to lock you down there. And it's running parallel to the top or the ceiling because they'll never intersect. And again, you only need three letters to lock in that plane. And again, the left and the right are parallel, the front and the back are parallel. Three letters, no symbols, no commas or anything. So this is where you would stop and go practice this vocabulary and Delta Math. So there's a 3.1 Delta Math on these 4 pieces of vocabulary, and then when that's done, come back to the notes. And then the next task is to deal with when we have 2 lines in red cut by a transversal in purple. Sometimes I call the transversal a slicer. Slices through more than one line. It can slice through 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, but it kind of slices through multiple lines. And you have 8 angles that are formed up here. I'm going to label them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right? So there's different angle pairs up there that you have to know. From a previous chapter, you already should know some of them. You should know that angle 2 and angle 4 are vertical angles, and their measures are congruent. That was from chapter 2. You should know that angles 1 and 2 make a linear pair. They add up to 180. That's from chapter 1. But in this chapter, we're going to be working with these relationships. Corresponding angles. So we use this symbol right there. Make it look a little better. Corresponding angles. We're going to work with what's called alternate interior angles. We're going to work with, I think I'm going to go with same side. So interior means inside, so it's going to be inside the 2 red lines, so we'll do the 2 cards that are in there. We'll be having what's called same side interior. Some books, texts, countries call those consecutive interiors. So know if you hear that in your own language, it might say consecutive interior, but we're going to call them same side. And then last, we also have what's called alternate exterior angles. And for now, you just need to locate them. Once tomorrow, we're going to force those red lines to turn parallel, and then there's going to be some math that goes with them. So our corresponding angles generally, if you consider these 2 different clumps of 4, so I'm going to circle it. I've got clump number 1 in blue, and then I'll make clump number 2 here in yellow. And then, if you look at them separately, corresponding angles are in the same spot. So I'm going to write down here, same spot. And by that I mean they're both in the top right, top left, both in the bottom left, or both in the bottom right. But they're in the same spot in their clumps of 4. So angle 1 is in the top right in its blue clump, and angle 5 is in the top right of its yellow circle. So we'd say angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding. And there's 4 pairs up there. We also have the bottom right 4 corresponds to angle 8. So we'd say angle 4 and angle 8 are corresponding. And then we also have angle 2 in the top left corresponding to angle 6 in the bottom left. So we say angle 2 and angle 6. That's a little light right there, isn't it? That's okay, deal with it. Then we have, what else? We also have the bottom left, so angle 3 and angle 7. So your task today is really just to find the pairs that are corresponding. You won't do anything with them until tomorrow. All right, so if alternate interior, what I like to do is take, I'm going to erase all this, and I'm going to relabel them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I had 8 over here. This word interior is going to be inside the 2 red lines. So I have 4 interior angles. Angles 3, angle 4, angle 5, and angle 6. The word alternate means you're going to go on alternate sides of the transversal. So you're going to be inside these 2 lines, and you're going to swap sides of the transversal. So our alternate interior up here would be 3, and then hop the transversal to 5. So we'd have angle 3 and angle 5 are inside, interior, and alternating, or switching sides. Also, we'd have angles 4 and then hop the transversal, and angle 6. Our next pair is called same side interior. So I'm still working with those angles that are inside those 2 red lines, angles 3, 4, 5, and 6. But now I'm going to be on the same side of the transversal. So we have angle 3 and angle 6 are same side interior, and similarly angle 4 and angle 5. Not very exciting, it's just vocabulary. And then last up, trying to get a new color here. Our alternate exterior is similar to alternate interior. We're going to be outside those 2 red lines. So we'll be talking about angles 1, 2, 7, and 8. So I think I'll go highlight those because I'm getting a lot of colors going on here. Let me grab a highlighter. I'll go yellow. So our exteriors are angles 1, 2, 7, and 8. That's the exterior part of it. Alternate, though, means we have to be on alternate sides of the transversal. So we would be angle 2 and angle 8 would be called alternate exterior. Angle 1 and angle 7 would also be alternate exterior. So last up, just a little bit of practice. I have to deactivate my finger here. All right, so a little bit of practice. I pause the video and practice this on your own. So pause it, run through this, and then go correct it. So I'm gonna go fast now because I'm assuming you already did them. Angle 1 and angle 3 are in the same spots in their clumps. Those are called corresponding angles. Angle 8 and angle 4 are outside of the lines. They're on the outside, but they hop the transversal. I'm going to do the transversal here in a darker black. So here's my transversal. 4 and 8 are outside and hop the transversal. So those are called alternate exterior. Angle 6 and angle 7 are inside my 2 red lines, but they're on the same side of the transversal. So we call those same side interior. Hopefully you got those right. If not, pause the video and fix it. 2 and 6 are also inside, but they hop that black transversal. So those are alternate interior. Sorry, I'll try not to write the cursive that way. It's not easy to read. And then last up, 1 and 7. That's old. 1 and 7 is from last chapter when they're across each other on these pair of scissors. You know they're congruent, and hopefully you remember they're called vertical angles. All right. And lastly, and your assignment isn't a worksheet, it's a quizzes on this. So, and the link is on the Wednesday daily slides. So there's a quizzes instead of a worksheet. So now it says name a pair same side interior. Let's do a different pair than 6 and 7. So angle 2 and angle 3 are inside the 2 red lines and on the same side. Alternate exterior. Let's choose a different pair than 8 and 4. So let's stay on the outside, but hop the transversal. So angle 1 and angle 5. Last up, there's 3 more pairs of corresponding. Remember those? We look at these clumps and we stay in the same spot. So I'm going to choose angle 7 it would correspond in this clump to angle 5 because it's in the same spot in the bottom right. So I'm going to say angle 7 and angle 5. So the assignment is quizzes. The link for both hours is on the slide for Wednesday.